Record. We were staying, like, to do the hooly hooly cart, we had to have, one of the things we had to have was, like, this plastic jug thing that hooked up to a little water pump so we could wash our hands. It had a little sink on the back of it, and it just had a little pipe. And for health code violations, we could have just let that little water hit the ground. We had a 5-gallon bucket we could place underneath it, and that collected the soap water, and that was to go. So we took this hooly hooly cart, and we were staying, like, there's not like hotels and shit, so we were like staying at like a resort, like a Hawaii resort. And back then, Hawaii would give you discounts on everything if you're local. Kama Aina, they call it. So if you went to a hotel, you would say you got Kama Aina, and they go, yeah. And if you just showed them you had a Hawaii driver's license, you get like 10% off your hotel stay. They used to do this for everything, like rental cars. You used to get Kama Aina, like everything. And now they don't even do it. Nowhere does it. And now I say it as a joke to older people. If I'm getting like, what, you do Kama Aina? And they'll just laugh. And they're like, ha, I wish. But they used to do Kama Aina. Just that is it. Show them your Hawaii driver's license. You get like 10% off hotels and resorts and shit. I said, don't do that anymore. But, so we stay at the resorts. And at first it sounds fun, staying at a resort every weekend, but it just gets boring as shit. So we just sit there all night. I watch a John Wayne movie and wake up like 5 in the morning. So it takes like 2 hours just to get the fire going. You know, we have a big blowtorch or a propane tank. Just put a pile of wood on it, let it burn for an hour or two to spread it out. And so we were staying at this resort, and we woke up to go set up like 5 in the morning on the side of the road, and I got to put the bucket underneath the sink. I'm like, Tom, where's the bucket? We forgot the bucket. Well, we didn't forget. We said someone stole it. So Tom was like, someone stole our bucket when I was sitting at the resort. So Tom calls this hotel, this resort, and he goes ape shit. He's like, he didn't say bucket. He said, you let my water collecting receptacle get stolen. And I'm trying to run a goddamn business, and I can't do it now. And we just cooked that day. We didn't even give a shit. But he told this resort, I can't cook today. I drove all the way from Puna, and you let my shit get stolen. I'm paying for overnight parking, and you can't even keep my shit safe. And he is furious. This 5-gallon bucket got stolen from our whatever the fuck, the fucking trailer, the fucking cooking thing. He's ape shit. And the resort is like, sir, we have security cameras, we'll check the cameras, and like where we're parked, the cameras couldn't see it. They told us. So he's going ape shit. So he's like, how are you gonna compensate me for this? How are you gonna make this right? So this resort was like, we'll give you like, he got free parking. That used to cost like $25 a night. We got that free for the rest. And they gave us a little special area we could park at. Because the security could watch it. And then they gave him like 10 free nights or some shit. And Tom was like, that's it? That's all the fucking... We got all the way back with the trailer the next day after we were done cooking. And I like pulled up and I was like, oh, hey, Tom, here's the bucket. He was like, oh, I forgot to put it in there. Well, fuck him. We used to park in front of this Mormon. The only people that let us out in Kona was this Mormon church. So if you look up the Mormon temple in Kona, right there where the road is, that's where we used to set up. And I guess they just did it to be nice to us. We were the first ones to do it. Tom was like, let's just set up here. And I bet they won't say shit because they're a church and everyone wants to like them. And they did it. And then we've noticed other people set up there now. Because we kind of like made that a spot. And the guy, the preacher, whatever you call it, that weird ass fake religion, would come out and like talk to us and like try to preach to us sometimes. So like he would come out with like his like son to like show him. He was like this like really like overly nice man. And he'd be like, "Hi guys, you doing good today?" I'm like, "Yeah, great." He's like, "That's great. I'm glad you're glad you set up here." I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, I brought you a Bible." Or he'd always bring us like literature, and we're like, "Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we'll take a look at this." And he's like, "All right, thanks." And he like walk away. Sometimes his like son would hand it to us. We're like, "Thanks, buddy." And then as soon as he'd leave, like, "Fuck this shit." And then one time, the preacher came out and it gave us the full like Mormon Bible. And so we were sitting there, and oh god, I gotta do it. Shit. Sorry, I gotta remember this story. I gotta tell this one. Okay. Fucking preacher gave us a full Bible this time. And it was like, "Here we go." And we're like, "Oh, thanks, dude." So we're sitting there drinking. My thing was always to get smoking pot the whole time. So I'd always be like getting stoned as shit. And then towards the end, I'd sip a couple beers. And so I pick up this Mormon Bible and I start like thumbing through it. And so I start like reading it out loud to Tom. I'm like, "Hey, Tom," and I'm like reading it. And I'm like, "Now south, now south." And Tom is like, he was raised Catholic, so he's like, "Rupp, don't read that goddamn satanic shit to fucking me. I don't want to fucking hear it." And so of course I just keep reading more of it. And he's like, "Rupp, what if fucking Jesus came down and fucking heard you reading that shit? What the fuck would you say to God if he saw that in your fucking hands? Get that shit the fuck away from me." And I was like, "Oh, come on, Tom, they're fucking good people." And he's like, "I don't want to hear it, Rob. I don't want to hear that fucking bullshit." So I did that for, 20, 30 minutes till I got too old. So then I was just like, "All right, fuck this shit. To hell with you." So I threw the Bible in the huli cart where with all the fire, right? So whatever. So it's just a book. And I never threw garbage in there, but like this one day, I guess I had a couple beers, I threw it in there. And so it's like burning. But if you ever try to burn a book, you know how it goes. It doesn't just burst into flames like paper. It's like one page burns. Then it takes forever, right? If you ever actually try to do it. And I didn't think it out very well. So I threw it in there. So now it's taking forever. It burns, but shit. So I'm sort of like trying to poke it, and I can't put it in the corner, so it's not like getting smoke and shit on the chickens. And the fucking preacher starts coming back. I start seeing him like walking across the thing to us. I'm like, "Oh fuck, shit." So Tom's like, "Dude, the fucking preacher, he's gonna see your ass through that in there." I'm like, "Oh shit." So I try to throw the thing, like try to throw some logs on it, but he's like just walking towards us. He hasn't seen it. He like waves and smiling. I'm just like, fuck. So he like comes over and he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, next week we're doing like a something gay and stupid at our church if you want to come to it." And Tom's like, "Yeah, yeah." And I'm sitting there trying to cover this up, dude. And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, man." He's like, "So are you?" I'm like, "Oh, dude, we'll totally be there. We live in Puna, but we'd love to. But if we didn't live, we're so far away." And so I don't think he saw it, but I seriously think his corner of his eye caught it and didn't say anything. But that wasn't good. He didn't say anything, and he didn't ask us to leave. But I think he saw it in there burning. Oh, bad. But that was something funny that happened once we were there. And, if you're a religious person, I don't like that. Go fuck yourself. I don't know. That's what you get for believing in fairy tales, I guess. I was raised, like, really strict Southern Baptist, so my patience with, like, religious bullshit was like, But, man, just shit like that, man. He was so funny, man. Talking about jails back in the day and just fighting. He broke his back one time when he was a kid. He told me he was in a car. He broke his back one time. He told me they were in a car and his friend was driving like a shithead. He said this is way back in the day. The seatbelts were like, he told me they didn't have a seatbelt. He said this buddy of his was driving like a shithead, like a shithead, like you do when you're 16. And Tom thought this guy was going to wreck. And Tom said that when the guy was driving, he was sitting in the back in the middle, He thought they were going to wreck, so he put his hands, like, you know what I'm saying, stuck them in there. He said back then, you stick your hands down. He stuck them down in there, grabbed something solid. And he said, about as soon as he got a good grip, this dude wrapped and flipped the car. And Tom said they all got thrown out of the car because none of them wore seatbelts, if they had them. But Tom said he stayed in there because he was holding on so well. But he said because he was holding on, because the whatever, it hit something, it broke his back. So he said he was in like a cast from here to here for months when he was like 15, 16 years old. That's all the craziest fuck that happened to him. But, God, he was so funny. He had this dog named Toast. This dog was huge. It looked like a cartoon. It was this giant brown furry dog. And he called it Toast. Like a piece of toast. And he said Barbara came home all shit-faced one day. And his wife, you know, she was all drunk. While she was drunk, she went by the dog pound and picked up this dog. And she said she just came home all drunk. She was like, I got this dog. And he's like, what the fuck kind of dog? This dog was so weird. It was just big. It had this like long, scraggly hair that was always in front of his eyes. I couldn't see. And it was giant. It was like the skinniest, scared dog ever. So he said as soon as Barbara opened up the door, Toast just took off running. He just ran to this car that was across the street and just got underneath it. It was a trembling. But Tom was afraid. He said he was afraid if he got close to it, he was going to keep running. So he just ignored it. And he just put food and water out for it. Just let him get used to his street. So he said for like 2 days, the dog would have come out from underneath the car, just trembling. And he said he called it, the dog was comatose. That's why he called it Toast. He's like, what is with that dog? It's like comatose under there. So Tom just said he left it alone, let him get used to it. And then like on the second day, the dog real slowly came over and ate some food. And that was Toast, man. He'd always be outside there chilling. Every time I'd go over there, it was Toast, this giant dog. And he'd come up to you when you walk up, and you think because it was a huge dog. And he'd always be like, oh, he's fine, just let him sniff you. He'd just chill. And we gave him hula chickens all the time. We'd have come home with a hula chicken. And I'd be like, Tom, you want me to take the bones out? He'd be like, no, he eats the whole thing. I'm like, okay, so I just throw it on the ground. And I always put it on a plate for him, and he'd drag it off every time. And eat it on the rocks. He'd have all these little lava rocks on it. This dog would just eat everything. The breastbone, everything. And the dog had dog food and shit. It was very well taken care of, but just like a good hula chicken. Yeah, I know you're not supposed to give dog, but Tom's is his dog, alright. And the dog ate fine until the day he just died of old age. But it was hilarious, dude. You just give it some hula chicken and he'd look at you, but that whole thing's for me. And he'd just eat the whole thing. And then his stomach went this big, the dog. And then he would just lay there. He didn't want to move for fucking till the next day. It's hilarious, dude. The dog loved it. It loved the hula chicken. It was good. Oh. I crave them. Thankfully, some other guys cook them now, so I can get one once in a while. But ours were so good. Ooh, the little tail, that little butt, the little tail of the chicken, that would be cooked so perfect. The little pieces of skin would get stuck on there and fried like this piece of paper. Oh, I'd pick it off the iron steaks. When it was done cooking, and peel it off just a little piece. Oh, my favorite was just take the knife and cut it to just the breast. Just take that whole thing out. Just fuck, it was good. So good. That was good shit, man. Crazy son of a bitch, man. I keep pausing to stop, and I just keep thinking more stories about it. I mentioned his buddy Chuck. I've mentioned Chuck a few times. I still remember Chuck's name. Chuck was like his best friend here on the island. I don't know how long they had known each other. I guess probably they both showed up here. Chuck was also the Navy in Vietnam. They didn't know each other during the war though. But he was like in his 70s, and Chuck lived he had this house way up in like Pepe Cao. And it was so funny because he drank just as much as Tom, but instead of drinking natural light, he drank like just natural ice or something. But it was so funny when you just see them, they just be standing there talking to each other, and just they'd be like, "Yep, sip." It was like real King of the Hill alleyway, you know, just them talking, each just sipping their beers constantly, and you know, it was really country. You know, back then you couldn't get cell phone reception 90% of the island, and I never had a landline, so cell phones were pretty useless. You would have spots that you could stand in the yard and barely get reception, but the idea that you just use it as a cell phone everywhere was ridiculous. And so, especially back then, so like Hawaii thing, a lot of times we were just cruised by people, especially on the other side of the island. You just go by and see them. You know, you just since you're in the area, you just go by and talk story. So like our thing, it was really got it from them. If they were, because he lived like an hour or two away. If he was down in Tom's area, he'd come by, go see if Tom was home. If not, he would just leave one of his empty natural ice cans just there by the door. And then when Tom would get home, he'd see that and know that Chuck came by. And me and Tom would do that. Tom came by to see if I was home on the lava, and I wasn't. He'd just leave a natural ice can there. And that let me know. Hey, give Tom a call. And I would leave him. My brand was Rolling Rock. So if I was at Tom's, I'd leave a Rolling Rock. And that was my sign to, hey, give me a call when you're around. And Chuck, he worked on those boats. If you've ever seen like Apocalypse Now, that boat that they're going up river in, he was a welder, and he fixed the holes in those. Because he said they would just get shot up like Swiss cheese. And he'd take a rod, fill in the hole, and he said they could get shot up so much that he would just leave the welding rod on the boat. He said he would just fix the holes and just leave them. So there'd be welding rods all over the boat, because they would just be back that afternoon with more holes, so that you just take the rod and just finish fixing the holes. Just, that's how much they were getting shot up all the time. And it was funny, because the first time I saw him, you know, he's just a dude, and then we're by his house talking. I think it was because Tom was trying to help him get him weld the moonshine still. He needed help welding that. So they're talking, and they're talking about Vietnam and shit. And then Chuck's front door opens. Like I said, he's like 70, and a guy like in his 40s. If you've ever seen the movie Bruno, that hilarious comedy, remember his boyfriend, the little Filipino guy? That opened the door. It was like, Chuck! And Chuck was like, yeah? She's like, when are you coming in, honey? He's like, I'll be in a minute. And he's like, okay, I'm getting lonely. And like, he just like shuts the door. And I just kind of like look at Tom and Chuck, and I'm just like, I didn't say anything. So then we like get in the car, and I was like, who's that guy? He's like, oh, that's Chuck's little fuck boy. I'm like, fuck boy? And he's like, yeah, Chuck likes little boys. I'm like, he's like a 40-year-old man. He's like, he is now. He's like, he's been with him for like 20 years. He's like, he met him when he was like 18 or 19 or something. And it was just this little fuck boy, and he just loved talking about it. He never talked about it to me, but Chuck would tell Tom, like, I just like fucking little Filipino boys. I don't want to talk. Like, God damn it, Chuck, I don't want to hear about this shit. He's like, sorry, I do. I like them. He's like, I know you do, buddy. I know. But it was just the absolute last guy in the world you would expect, the boyfriend from Bruno, to come. Like, it was so funny. Just, okay. But, you know, to each his own. Hey, that's what makes the world spin. Fuck, Tom was so funny. Damn, it was so funny. I think that's about it. At least that's all I can think of now. I'm sure I'll think of 1,000 more stories about Tom, but to you, Tom Lackey, you crazy son of a bitch that loved life more than probably fucking anyone. God, I remember him telling him he got drunk in Mexico. Fucking Christ, I remember the story. He was down in Mexico for like a year or two. But he told me he lived in this crazy small town. And he said he got to be friends with the sheriff. They had like one policeman. And he was friends with this guy. And somehow they started talking about bullets. And they were talking about bullets. And Tom was like, yeah, I shoot some or something. And somehow they were talking about bullets. He's talking to the Mexican sheriff, the cop. And the cop asked him if he had like any 22 bullets. And Tom was like, yeah, I got a 22 rifle, squirrel rifle. I got a couple boxes. Why? He said the Mexican sheriff, he pulled out his little pistol and he opened up the revolver. He had a 22 revolver. And he opened it up. And all he had in there was like 5 bullets. And he said these bullets were so old, they were rusty, they were green. And he was like, I need some bullets. There's some new bullets for my revolver. And Tom was like, oh, I can get you some bullets, buddy. So he said he went back to his RV and he gave the sheriff, 4 or 5 boxes, whole boxes of bullets. So he said his cop, it's tickled pink. So he put some in his revolver and there was a church. So they start shooting at the bell of the church. The cop loaded his gun. Bing, bing. And hands the revolver to Tom. He said they were taking pop shots at the bell of the fucking church. And they said the priest came out and started yelling at him, quit fucking shooting his bell at the church. And like, oh, sorry, Father. So, like I said, just another crazy, wild story. Tom, man. Jesus Christ, you guys are so funny. Fuck. Alright, anyways. To you, Tom, like you. I know you're having a crazy son of a bitch. To the top.